Hey everybody, you ready for some regulatory acronymity? Well, let's talk regulatory acronymity. EFTPS, without it, taxes would be a mess. EFT Mandate, because it's great. Regulation D applies to deposits, which you will see. Then there's Regulation E, that's for everybody. Are you ready for some regulatory acronymity? First of all, there's EFTPS, or the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. It's also known as 31 CFR Part 203, which is the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. Now, this is directed by the IRS and the Bureau of Fiscal Service, and it's in place so that businesses can pay their taxes electronically. Now, there are some exceptions when it comes to how this is done, but currently, roughly about 98% of all business tax dollars are paid electronically using the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, or EFTPS. Something else that's out there is the EFT Mandate. Now, the EFT Mandate was provided for within the Debt Collection Improvement Act of 1996. What's this mandate do? Well, it makes it so that all payments made by the federal government to individuals and companies must be via electronic funds transfer. Now, this can be achieved via Vendor Express or direct deposit using ACH. There's also Direct Express Debit MasterCard, which sends the funds to a card. We also have Regulation D. Now, Regulation D is one of those also known as Title 12 Code of Federal Regulations Part 205. Wow. This one I've always remembered by calling it Reg Deposits, because that's what it governs. First of all, this is where we get our reserve requirements of depository institutions, which establishes the level of reserves financial institutions must hold at the Federal Reserve Bank level. Now, those reserves, they are going to be based on deposits in transaction accounts. Reg D also defines a transaction account, and it says things like any deposit account, even if you technically call it a savings account, that allows more than 6 or more transfers or withdrawals per month to another account of the depositor or to a third party. It's not really a savings account then, once you get to where you're having too many withdrawals. Reg D defines deposits in Fed accounts and defines deposit accounts. At least that's how I've always remembered it. And finally, we have Reg E, or I should say, Regulation Everybody. Because Reg E, it is for everybody, but not for businesses, it's for people. Regular, everyday people like you and me. It's also known as Title 12 Code of Federal Regulations Part 1005/Part 205, which implements the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, EFTA, of 1978. It's been around for a while. Reg E establishes the basic rights, the liabilities, and responsibilities of consumers who use electronic funds transfer services. It's important to note, again, it's only for consumers. Reg E is for ATMs, debit cards, prepaid cards, ACH transactions, and even foreign remittances. Those are recently added, more recent in the past couple of years. It does not address domestic wire transfers, though, or transactions that were negotiated as checks, like XCK. That's a kind of exception because an XCK is treated like a check. In fact, it doesn't govern checks at all. However, because it does apply to ACH, there are requirements, according to Reg E, that require notices when checks are going to be converted to an ACH. Also, if there are going to be service fees, then there are notice requirements as well. There really is a lot when it comes to Reg E, and especially things like error resolution, which is extremely important. And then there's stop payment requirements according to Reg E, and the remittance rules for international wires. Again, does not apply to domestic, and it is only for consumer. But if we start getting into that stuff, that's really going to be beyond the scope of a short video, where I just want to educate you on some of the basic stuff of what they are. So what we've covered, the EFT Mandate, which is great. EFTPS, without it, taxes would be a mess. Regulation D to define accounts and deposits. And of course, there's Regulation E for everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you got any questions, you can always message me here on LinkedIn, or you can email me, kevin@paymentsprofessor.com. And I look forward to seeing you in future videos. Thank you.